dedicate one to the ladies. Summertime sip, babe, need something to keep you cool. Now summertime sip, babe, need something to keep you cool. Better look out now, though, Dave's got something for you. Tell you what it is. I'm your ice cream man, stop me when I'm passing by. Oh my, I'm your ice cream man, stop me.
Back again, hard rockers, and still going through the Van Halen albums, the first 6 original classic David Lee Roth Van Halen albums, my favorites and yours. So far, we started at number 6 with Van Halen 2, number 5 with Fair Warning, number 4, Women and Children First. Last video, the shocking, the brutal, the offensive, number 3, Diver Down. And now, number 2. My gosh, which one's it gonna be? Which one's it gonna be? It's either Van Halen 1 or 1984. Which is it? Which is it? Oh, it's 1984, losers. Number 2, 1984. Yes, yes, indeed. Whoop. Why did they do that upside down? I will never figure that out. Yep. This is the album where if people weren't already a Van Halen freak, now they were. Great album. Actually, believe it or not, kind of an underestimated album. Underrated album. It's sort of an album that comes with some built-in debate. Maybe you could call it frustration even. A very pivotal album in Van Halen's career as a band and in Edward's career as a musician and songwriter. This album was the point where Edward said, you know what, I wanted keyboards on the last album. Dave and the record company kind of wouldn't let me really do it, what I wanted to do. This time, I don't care. I'm just doing it. Diver Down in 1982 was the last album where, well, it was the last album that Van Halen recorded at Sunset Sound. 1984 was the first Van Halen studio album that was recorded in the new studio Edward had built, which he called 5150. And this album, 1984, Rolling Stone magazine ranked as album number 81 on its list of the 100 greatest albums of the 1980s. It reached number 2 on the Billboard 200 album chart and remained there for 5 weeks behind Michael Jackson's Thriller, which Edward Van Halen also played on. Singles for this album were Jump, Panama, I'll Wait, and Hot for Teacher. And the album was certified diamond, just like their first album, in 1999, signifying 10 million shipped copies or more. Yeah, wow. I still remember when this album came out. It was the first Van Halen album I bought right after its release, basically. And I think I already had the first album at this point. This one hit, I bought it, and then I went back and I collected all the stuff in the middle. And this album was a really big deal at the time. I don't know how many, if you're younger, if you're in your teens now, or your 20s, or even your 30s, maybe your 40s, I don't know if you can appreciate the importance of the things that were happening within Van Halen around this time. For Edward Van Halen to basically be acknowledged worldwide as the best guitarist ever, and then suddenly say, you know, I still love guitar, but I want to concentrate on keyboards now. That was a really big deal, and there were a lot of us that were really not pleased to hear that. I was one of them. I don't think it's easy to understand unless you were there when it was going on. In 1984, for a hard rock band to include keyboards at all was risky. Keyboards were like, you know, the redheaded stepchild of rock music. We hard rockers, metalheads back then, we did not want to hear that keyboards were included on an album in any way. It was sometimes overlooked. Things like the little keyboard lines on Dio's first couple of albums. Ozzy always had a little bit of keyboard here and there, like Mr. Crowley, things like that. A lot of keyboards on Bark at the Moon. But those guys were sort of above reproach. They just used keyboards for mood kind of stuff. It's not like they were putting keyboards on their albums more than guitars, or to take the place of guitars, or, I mean, there were times occasionally it would happen, but you know, Ozzy was always still going to be Ozzy. So when we heard things like So Tired or You're No Different on the Bark at the Moon album, we didn't really care, because we knew the next song was going to have heavy guitar on it, and it was going to kick your ass. But when you heard the guitarist himself talk about how he wanted to sort of not switch from guitar to keyboards, but focus a little more on keyboards instead of guitar, because he had kind of done everything on guitar, now you were kind of worrying, what the hell is Van Halen going to sound like with keyboards? This is the band that gave us, you know, Ain't Talking About Love and Atomic Punk, I'm the One. These were heavy songs and really guitar dependent songs. And now what were we going to get? Well, December 21st of 1983, Jump was released as a single before the album hit, and people found out. And I have to say, despite the fact that I consider myself to be one of those people who was very much a part of, God, no keyboards, please. Jump is an absolutely iconic song. It's one of the songs you think of when you think of the 80s now. Edward was onto something. Still doesn't mean I wouldn't have rather had a full guitar album instead, but what we got was not bad. And I think, 10 times platinum or more pretty much tells the story. It's a great album. And obviously the last one of that original Van Halen run with David Lee Roth. Unfortunately, from here, David Lee Roth went on to some really good success with his band and albums like Eat 'Em and Smile and Skyscraper, for instance. Which I absolutely love. I've got both of those and very glad to have them. I like them more than the Van Halen Sammy Hagar albums. Easily. Although I do kind of like 5150 and I like For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. Balance is a good album. OU 812 is okay. But 1984 was kind of a split for a lot of us. We could not believe David Lee Roth was out of this band. I still remember walking around at the city pool that summer after hearing that, and we were all just stunned, and it was all we could talk about. Oh my God. What? Insane. But anyway, seems to have kind of worked out for both parties, I guess. Let's get into the tracks. All right, so the opening instrumental keyboard track, 1984. I gave it 4 stars. I like it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I gave it 4 stars. I like it more than a 3-star track. It's just for what it is. It's pretty cool. It's fun listening to it. I still remember hearing it in the car on the cassette player and thinking, man, this is really neat. And then it goes right into Jump and you're like, oh, wow. Speaking of which, track 2, Jump. 5 stars. Like I said, iconic track. Great vocal, great music, great video. This was a big identifier from 1984. You turn on the TV, you were probably going to see this video. And no matter how much you were against the keyboards and you were into the guitar, it was a cool song. It's still a cool song. I never understood how Van Halen with Sammy, the first thing they did was go out on tour for 5150 and make fun of this song. Excuse me. This song wasn't Dave's idea. This was your idea. You insisted on it. Dave wrote some great lyrics for it. And you make fun of them now. Well, sorry, it was a #1 hit for you. and it helped the album sell all those millions of copies. What were you thinking going out and slamming this? This was you. This wasn't Dave. All right, track 3, Panama. 5 stars. It's Panama. It's a great song. It's fun. It's iconic. It's identifiable. Automatically, when you think Van Halen, you think Panama. It's one of those songs. Track 4, Top Jimmy. Four stars. It's not my favorite Van Halen track, but I can't knock it. Track 5, Drop Dead Legs. Five stars. I started the first video of this series with Drop Dead Legs, and there's a reason for that. I love this song. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say it now. This is my favorite track on the album. It wasn't always. Probably became that in the last 5 or 10 years, but I absolutely love it. Track 6, Hot for Teacher. Stars. I mean, come on. And maybe the best video of all time in the hard rock genre. Who can forget this video and how much fun it was? Track 7, I'll Wait. Another 5 stars. A lot of people don't love it. I do. I think it's a great song. It's not, you know, if I have to choose between this and Ain't Talking About Love, well, I'm not choosing this, but it's still a 5-star song. Speaking of Wait, it wasn't credited on the album in the US originally, but Michael McDonald helped write this song. In fact, apparently, as I read, the band had sort of a rough idea for it, and he came in and saved it because they were getting ready to scrap it. And he said, no, let's do this, let's do that. What do you think of that? And they were like, wow, that's pretty good. Let's record that. Anyway, moving on. Track 8, Girl Gone Bad. I gave it 4 stars. Kind of forgettable for me. I like it, but I've never loved it. Track 9, the last track on the album, House of Pain. 3 stars. I like it. I've never loved it. It's okay. They don't finish up real strong on this one to me, but overall, the album is plenty strong enough to get away with that. Okay, so that being said, 1984 gets a total of 40 stars for the songs, divided by 9 tracks, equals 4.44 total stars for the album. The fact that there are only 9 tracks kind of helps save this album in the number 2 spot. If it had any more tracks and they were kind of average, it'd be way down the list. But it's not. 1984 to me is their second best album because I'm going through rating it a song at a time. If I'm rating what album in my heart jumps out at me as the second best, in my opinion, it's probably Women and Children First or Diver Down. But this is all about math, children. And the math says 1984 is the second best. All right. Be back next time with the number 1 album in the Van Halen catalog. Talk to you then.